In this video, I am going to share my 12-month journey of the hardest shadow work that I have ever done. Hey, and welcome to my channel, Emerald Moon. If this is the first time you visited my channel, I'm Beck, and if you're returning, welcome back. So in this video, I will be picking up where I left off in my previous video, where my journey of self-love had brought me to a place within myself that I was needing to go deeper with shadow work. So if you haven't checked out that video, the link is in the description below. So here I am sitting in a cleansing lavender salt bath, completely sobbing. I had come up with the idea that I needed to face my shadow around the feelings that I had about my 10-year relationship of turmoil. So I decided I would watch a romance movie. And oh goddess, did that open the emotional Pandora's box of grief. I hate crying. I know I have shadow around crying, so after a long period of time of non-stop crying, probably it was only maybe 10 or 15 minutes, I thought that a bath would soothe me so I could stop the tears. But not only did I continue to cry in the bath, I cried even harder. I just couldn't control it, and I cried to the point where I couldn't see anymore. So I shut my eyes and I laid my head on the tub and I just surrendered to it. While my eyes were shut, I had a vision of myself in my 20s, in my early 20s, standing out the front of a house with a toddler on my hip, feeling abandoned and distraught. I knew that I was seeing myself at a time when my ex-husband had left me and I was a young mother, and I had no idea what I was going to do. That younger me felt completely lost and alone. It was at that moment of seeing myself that I knew I had to go to her, the younger me, and just be there for her. I couldn't tell her everything was going to be alright. That's not what she needed to hear anyway. She needed understanding, she needed to be held, and she needed to be heard. And she also needed to feel validated. In that moment, I acknowledged that everything she felt was completely okay, and I forgave myself for turning my back on those feelings and on her. Then it dawned on me that I had stopped crying and that I finally felt free from that time in my life that I had been grappling with for 15 years. Finally, I thought, finally I can get on with my life. But shadow work wasn't finished with me yet. Woo! Finally! Yeah, nah. You see, I hadn't been aware that I was peeling back the layers, and now the core was starting to be exposed, and that meant, you guessed it, more crying. I cried at work. I cried at home, I cried in the car, I cried on the train. It didn't matter where I was or what time, I would just start crying, and I seemed to not be able to hold it back or stop once I started. I tried lots of different things to try and help myself. I tried journaling, but there was so much emotion that I felt completely overwhelmed and scrambled, and I couldn't pinpoint what exactly the root cause was. I went off social media, even though I was watching lots of other people's YouTubes, but I went off Instagram, no Facebook or any of those type of social medias. I tried leveling up with my body care and massaging myself to try and self-soothe. I tried herbal teas, but nothing was helping, and I found I was getting worse. I stopped talking to my family and friends. I hardly came out of my room. Some days I couldn't go to work, and everything just felt overwhelming and hard to cope with. Even mundane tasks like cooking and going shopping. And there was no amount of cleansing baths that could help me through this. And I ended up getting to a point where I couldn't stand the overwhelming sadness anymore, and I got in touch with a psychotherapist. Working with her, I came to understand that I had a pattern and I needed to come to terms with being sexually abused as a young child, a very young child. I had buried this so deep that I had completely disassociated from it. I won't go into the experience of delving into healing my inner child here, but if you would like to see a video about that, please let me know down in the comments. After 6 months of working with my psychotherapist alongside of my witchcraft practice, I've come a long way in healing, forgiving, and loving myself. To be honest, going through all of that was extremely difficult, but there is no denying that it was absolutely worth it. Now that I have reached a happy place in my life, does that mean that everything is peachy keen? No. I still have shadows to work on and many things that I am learning about myself, and I'm still learning to love myself through it all. But I feel the happiest and the strongest that I have felt in a very, very long time. So thanks for listening to me share my story, and I hope that your self-love journey brings you all the kinds of healing and love that you can only give to yourself.